Hello, welcome to WD18, the Watford fan channel. My name is Jacob, joined by Sam and Charlie as usual. Your front three here on WD18 to talk through the West Brom win yesterday. 3-2 win, a big win as well. We'll talk about how Watford did it, and we're also going to be getting through a lot of stuff today. Some big news breaking away from the club, but concerning another manager. There's been quite a few, but Javi Gracia has joined Leeds United as their new head coach. We're going to get into some stuff around Ken Sema, who's getting a lot of plaudits, which is great to see for the king himself. And then we're going to be chatting a little bit on disability in football with a special guest coming onto the show at about 6:30. So make sure you do stay along for that. Lads, throw it over to you first. Sam, you were there yesterday. Woke up with a spring in your step. Watford win. Bit of a buzz.
Of course, it always is when Watford win, and it's been a while as well. I think our last win must have been. Have we won since Blackpool at home? I'm just trying to think.
I think that's
yeah, and so it's been a while, and it's always a spring in the step when Watford do win. Sets up the week really well, ready to attack the week now even more than I was already. Even better the fact that obviously I went straight back up to Birmingham after the game yesterday, and before the game I was talking to some West Brom fans on the train. All of them were, I think they were confident actually going into it, some of them, but it was nice on the way home speaking to a few of them. Everyone enjoyed the game. It was a really entertaining game of football, but it was nice that I was able to rub a bit of salt into the wounds.
Sam, he's loved that. Charlie, mate, how you feeling? We both watched it from home, didn't we? But I don't know about you, the way you saw it, but like yesterday, it was a weird one because I didn't think we played by any stretch our best football, but like the buzz of how big that win is in terms of the context of the season. And I know you said beforehand you were feeling nervous for it.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like it was like important, a really important win. Again, having these games where we've drawn, we haven't been amazing. They're a potential playoff rival who have been flying. I think Corberan's won 10 in 15. They've been on the back of a couple of bad results, thanks to our old pals, John Eustace and Troy Deeney. But big game, and we've done enough. And a couple of frustrating things through the game, and you're fuming. But the best thing about yesterday was we hit back instantly, so it wasn't pissed off for too long. So, like Sam, in a buoyant mood.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Right, before we get into the game, as I mentioned at the top of the show, there was an announcement made on a former Watford manager, Javi Gracia, one of the most successful Watford managers in terms of what he achieved in the 2018-19 season, guiding us to our highest ever Premier League finish, or top flight Premier League finish rather, and then obviously taking us to the FA Cup final. Leeds United have announced that they've agreed terms with Javi Gracia to become their new head coach, subject to obtaining a work permit. Now, I have to admit, when I saw the initial links, it caught me a little bit off guard. But Sam, as I started to kind of read into it, it feels like an appointment that makes a lot of sense for all parties. From your perspective, do you understand why Leeds have made this move?
Definitely. I think perhaps the problem for them is that they were looking, I think some of their fans were looking for more of a firefighter sort of manager. Someone who's going to come in the last 15, 16 games of the Premier League season, get points and keep them up, because it doesn't look great for them down there in the table. But I think Javi's a manager who you need to give him a bit of time. Obviously with us, people sort of forget he had that first 6 months, the back end of the season before the FA Cup final, to bed himself in. It wasn't unbelievable, but it was enough to get Watford over the line and survive in the Premier League before we really kicked on in the season after that. So I think Leeds are probably looking at it like that. You know, if Javi can keep them up and then hopefully next season push them to the top end of the table, take them to a cup final, a bit like he did with us, that's probably in the back of their minds at the moment. But on Javi, I'm just so happy for him. I don't think there's a manager at Watford who's been more deserving of a second chance in English football than him. The way he was sacked, I think, was harsh. Circumstances didn't really work out the way they probably should have done for him, and I wish him all the best at Leeds.
Do you know what's really? I think that's a great point that Sam has made there, Charlie, in terms of the reaction you're seeing from Watford fans in particular. There's a real sort of, there's no bitterness towards him at all. There's only love and support for him onto the next job of his career. If any Leeds fans are tuning in, and you were to say to them what to expect from a Javi Gracia team, what would you say is the kind of key points to pick out?
Yeah, I was having a look a bit today. We did do a TikTok saying we missed Javi and a bit of a compilation of all his best moments, which if you haven't seen and fancy a good cry, head over to our TikTok. Also, if you want to see Jacob going viral singing, head over to
That video is doing so well. All the Hibs fans.
I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. If you follow us on TikTok, we put up well, Charlie edited this clip from the last stream of me seeing the Porteous chant. Well, it wasn't a chant; it's never going to reach the terraces, but it's me singing it along. And we were looking at the views, and it's just going up and up, and it's on 28,000 views, which is more people than Vicarage Road have seen me sing terribly that chant. Anyway, Charlie, sorry to interrupt there, mate. You were thinking on Javi.
Yeah, just if Leeds fans are watching, I was looking a bit today, and it just in terms of out of possession, he's pretty solid, and I think that's what they need in terms of a 4-4-2, two banks of four. Looking at the team, he done it with Watford. He had Cavaselli and Cathcart as centre halves, and what he does with the kind of midfielders, those kind of inverted wingers. So Will Hughes was playing on the right, left foot, and Roberto Pereira, what a player he was, by the way. Cutting in on the right, he was starting at the left, trying to be as central as possible. A lot of direct balls to kind of Deeney with Delafeu around him. And I think it could be a good match for Leeds. Thinking about Delafeu, they've got Nonso, who's been on fire. He can play that role. They can have Bamford, Rodrigo as the kind of target man. Inverted Brendan Harrison. They've got Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams. That could be their Capu and Decore. And we had kind of, for the width, that those advancing fullbacks, we had Kiko and Holebas. And I know Leeds have got Firpo. Is it Christensen, Ramos at the right back? So, look, like Sam said, I echo that. I think I don't buy into nice guys finish last. I think Javi is one of the nicest guys I've met in football. I think he's got really good emotional intelligence. He's going to be able to connect with the players who are going to want to play for him. And I'm just chuffed to see him back in the Premier League and wish him all the best.
Yeah, spot on. Absolutely buzzing for Javi, to be honest. As Charlie mentioned, I met him, I think it was after when we beat Spurs at home with the Cathcart and Deeney, and he spent a good, just little things, but just spent a good 15 minutes, 20 minutes taking pictures with fans and speaking to them. And I just thought he really got the club. I think when you look back at the managers over the Pozzo era, for sure, he's got to be the biggest success in terms of what he brought to the team. I've never felt so connected with a head coach like Javi. As well. And I felt the one thing he did really well is that he embedded himself in the community as well, which goes a long way. And I think particularly at a club like Leeds, that'll be a really good fit, I think. And obviously we wish Javi all the best in what he has to do. But actually, someone made a great point. How many former Watford managers are now in the Premier League? You've got Javi, you've got Marco Silva,
Dyche.
You've got Dyche,
Brendan Rodgers.
And Brendan Rodgers. 4.
Did we say? Yeah, we said Silva, didn't we?
Yeah,
Marco
4.
Silva.
Yeah, Silva,
yeah.
Dyche, and Brendan Rodgers. So basically, we're just waiting for Kike, Pearson, Cisco.
The way we're going, Jacob, everyone in world football will be an ex-Watford manager at some point.
Oh, love it. Right, so we wish Javi all the best, and we'll see how he gets on at Leeds. Moving on to, actually, before we do that, let's get a couple of your comments just on Javi before we move on to the game. Ian says on Javi, solid, reliable, and he has a decent squad to work with. Hodgson as well, but he's not in the Premier League now. Charlotte says all the best at Leeds, Javi. It'll be tough to keep Leeds up, but hopefully it's a foothold back in management for him. For sure. Yeah. Obviously had times at Valencia, replaced Javi Al-Sad, if I can remember correctly. So, he's kind of dipped in and out of job since he left Watford pretty harshly, wasn't it, in the end? There was one more comment just to pick out from VJ. Great to see you, mate. Just on yesterday, a wee bit fortunate, but what a relief and some good performances. If Gracia appointment is confirmed, the best of luck to him. Wish he'd stayed. And I think we all think that in hindsight. Look, moving on to a big win for Watford, back in the playoffs. It finished Watford 3, West Brom 2. Sam, I've seen, so this is it's such an interesting game, this one, because the win, as we've all mentioned, is absolutely huge. But there's been a bit of debate on how we got to the win. Some people are saying, did we actually play that well? Some people are saying, well, it was the style of play. Some people are saying, well, it's just about getting over the line. Some people are saying it showed a lot of character. Where do you fall on this debate about Watford's performance yesterday and the overall win for us as well?
I'm always going to be happy when Watford win. I saw a tweet, and obviously everyone's entitled to their opinion, but someone said they were feeling, I think, downbeat and upset or something when they left the stadium because of the manner that we conceded the goals. I mean, I say everyone's entitled to their opinion. If they felt like that, then completely fair enough. But for me, at least, a Watford win, if it's, no hook or by crook, no matter how we do it, I'm always going to be buzzing. Yes, there were some concerning elements to the win yesterday. The 2 goals we conceded both of them were diabolical goals to concede, to be honest with you. Both so preventable. But I think the character from the team is commendable. Yes, the counter to that is that all 3 of our goals, you could argue, were quite lucky as well. But I think the fact that we got into those positions in the first place, kept on going. Previously, particularly after West Brom got the first goal back to make it 1-1, and they were piling on the pressure, I think this Watford team would have crumbled in the past. But as we saw parts against Burnley and at various points during the season, during some good results, I think they persevered quite well and we managed to get the win.
Charlie, where do you fall on that debate?
Yeah, shocked by some of the reaction. As a Watford fan in recent years, I think we know what a poor performance is because we've seen plenty of them. Don't get me wrong, yesterday wasn't fluid, sexy, Javier ball that we've seen in the past, but I thought it was a pretty enterprising display. Like looking at the stats just here, 7 shots on target to their 4, 18 shots in total, 56% possession. I felt like we had chances. Saar hit the post. Keenan Davis should have scored. Their keeper made a great save. So I thought we played all right. Like it wasn't exactly slick. There's areas where we need to improve, but I just couldn't understand the negative feeling because this West Brom team have got players that a lot of people wanted in the summer. Jed Wallace, John Swift, Daryl Dike is great. Yukoshalu, we wanted a couple of seasons ago. Our old friend Nate Chalobah, who got hooked after who got hooked at half time. But I thought it was a pretty enterprising display, and I think the biggest takeaway positive from it was when we did have the setback, we went up the other end and created a chance. I did think West Brom weren't amazing, but we still need to go out there and we scored 3 goals. Job done, and hopefully we can phase Imran Loser in. We've got a strong team now, and we're going to start picking up more consistent results and performances.
Yeah, this is the thing, because as Sam mentioned, when you look back at all 3 goals, obviously the first one we've got into the area, but it's a ricochet from Davis. The keeper's then parried it. Sema's got to tap it. Got to be in the right place at the right time. Yeah. The second one, obviously, deflection off their defender. Saar's in the box to put it away. Great finish. And then with Sema's, obviously, there's a massive bit of fortune for it to deflect straight off him. So I think if I was going to play devil's advocate, Sam, and what I do agree with you guys, some people would say, is it character or is it luck? Because ultimately, as you say, there was 3 goals that on another day might not go in, and then we've come away going, well, we've lost 2-1. I know we didn't, but we haven't won 3-2 or we've drawn, and we've gone, well, that wasn't actually that good performance. Do you think there's an element of people having a bit of clouded judgment because we did win yesterday?
I'm a strong believer in football that you make your own luck. Obviously, as you mentioned just there, Jacob, that all 3 of the goals, that there were elements where you could go on another day would the ball have landed there, but you make your own luck. Ken Sema found himself in the right place at the right time with the first goal. Saar, right place, right time with the second goal. Sema mentioned in his post-match interview, I think, that he wants to be shooting a bit more, and he had a shot and it took a deflection and went in. All 3 of those, we found fortune in the ball finding its way into the back of the net. Yes, but the endeavour, I think, and the character showed to get ourselves into those areas, take shots on, and create opportunities, I think, is commendable, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. And looking at the XG as well, 2.77 Watford to West Brom's 1.84. So statistically, like, we created the better opportunities. How many times have we watched games where teams have massive XG, Brighton, and they end up losing? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so yeah. I don't know what more people want. I get the patterns, and I get you want fluid and kind of consistency, but again, we've come off of a injury crisis that no one's ever seen before. So it's going to take time.
Surely, I guess the question is, does it matter at this point about a style of play? Because we've discussed it on the channel about how we've kind of looked at Bilic's teams and gone, well, I couldn't really. If you said to my mum, how do Watford play and their identity, I probably couldn't tell you on the Bilic, to be honest. Apart from in the big games we've turned up, and in a one-off games he is very good tactically. But like, is it getting to the point now with 14, 15 games left of the season where it's just literally playoffs or break, that it's now just a case of getting wins however they come? Would you say?
I don't know. I just want to see once we've got the team fully in place where we know who's going to play. I think Imran Louza is such an important player for us, and he's the only person who's got the ability. We've talked about it, but who's got that ability to get it off the defence, progress up the field, knit the play. So, like, I think let's have a look now. We've got Sheffield United, which is another tough game. We said in the last video, didn't we? How many points out of these 3? We've already got 4, which is a really good return. Any other points, I think, would be a bonus from if you look back from our last video. And then we've got a group of games where we should be winning on paper. I do want to see Jacob. I don't want to see us stumbling over the line against Wigan and Hull. I do want to see us dominating possession, seeing patterns, seeing relationships on the pitch, and building up to more cohesion and form going into those playoffs.
I'm just picking up on that, Charlie, as well. I think it was a year ago last week or something, but we had that Bristol City 6-0 win. That was a real statement win where we just absolutely hammered the team. And I'm not saying I expect that against Burnley on last Tuesday night or West Brom last night. But in those games after Sheffield United, I think it would be such a statement if we managed to pull one of those off.
Yeah, this is the thing, Sam, because we've got West Brom, Sheffield United, and Burnley. And when you look at those games, how many points would you have taken before those 3? So I guess obviously we're 3 points closer towards that target, but it feels like West Brom out of the 3 was probably the easiest fixture. Sheffield United away. Does that feel the next 2 feel like sort of determine? Did the next 2 feel like it will determine how we actually finish the season? That sounds pretty obvious, but like it does feel like that point of the season where it does pretty much rely on the next 2 if we can get that momentum. I do feel in the Championship, because remember that Bristol City game that you mentioned when we went up, that literally kick-started that run, didn't it, towards the end?
Yeah, and my worry is though as well with that Bristol City game, everything just seemed to click that day in terms of injured players coming back into the team. And what that allowed to happen was Cisco was able to play, I think it was a 4-3-3, wasn't it? And we had a style of play for the rest of the season. Because of the injuries, I think that's one of the big reasons why we haven't been able to develop a style of play throughout. But if we can get everyone back fit, I think that's when you can truly judge Slaven Bilic, particularly. And that's when we can see what this Watford side are really made out of. Because when everyone's back, that's when we have to get a run of form together, and momentum going into the playoffs is absolutely massive. If we can
I got my games mixed around because obviously Burnley was before West Brom, but the fact of the matter is to get 4 points out of those 2, you probably would have taken, and then Sheffield United.
I think I said either 1 point or 3 points. I thought we'd beat Burnley on Tuesday night. I thought it'd have been very Watford, and I thought we'd lose the other 2. So we're already ahead of schedule in my head. But with the games in hand, I think there's about 5 or 6 Championship games tonight. I think we could end up 8th or 9th tonight if the results don't go our way. So it's still not really in our hands, and we just have to keep on winning.
Yeah.
One thing that I looked at previous seasons gone by, kind of the average points or the average wins that you need to make the playoffs. And around 20 wins is what most teams are getting to secure the playoff. So yesterday was our 13th, I think.
Yeah, 13th.
7 more wins out of 13 games.
13, yeah.
That sounds quite tough. So I think it could be a different season this season with the table so tight and so congested. So you might not have to reach that 20, but I think that would be a really good kind of target. If we can get 20 wins, that's going to really put us in this playoff place, and that will see us 7 wins out the next 13, which would be really good form going into those.
Yeah, it does feel like that type of season that is going to go down to the final day. It just feels like it. There's going to be a playoff position, I think, decided on, or a couple anyway. We'll move on to standouts from yesterday's game. A couple I'm going to throw out there, and then let me know what you think. So we'll start from the back, actually, Sam. We're going to go with the 2 fullbacks. I thought Morris and Gaspar, for me, watching from home, were really good. I think particularly I think for Morris, every time I see him, I just think, mate, this is serious pressure in going into a game like this after not playing the last one and just being thrown in there. And every time he just seems to deal with it. I think what epitomised his whole performance was that tackle towards the end, which is an absolute beauty. But Sam, for you, just on the two fullbacks, what pleased you from their performance and what they offered to the team?
I think you said it there with James Morris, that it very much felt like he was thrown in, because I don't think we were told that Kamara wasn't fit.
So it's hamstring injury.
Hamstring, yeah.
Hamstring FC makes a return.
I did get quite worried, because I'm not sure if the cameras picked up on it, but in the first 5-6 seconds of the game, Morris missed a header, and West Brom were very nearly in behind. I think Porteous got a head on it, and Batman was able to get it. But other than that little blip at the start, I thought he was exceptional. Morris, he was up and down that wing. As I tweeted yesterday, there are flaws to his game. I still think he can get better in the final third of the pitch. But defensively, he's really growing physically as well. You can tell that he's really adapted to the physicality in the Championship. And in terms of Mario Gaspar, that was his best game in a Watford shirt, I thought. Brilliant last night, and he's growing with confidence every single game. Again, there's limitations. He's not quick. I wouldn't say he's great in the final third, although he did play a big role in the first goal yesterday. But I'm saying he's coming of age, but he's one of the more senior players in the squad. But he's really finding his feet in this Watford team, and I'm delighted for him.
Robin, great to see you, Robin. WD18 Hall of Fame. As someone who has consistently not rated him, thought Gaspar had his best game in a Watford shirt yesterday. And I think it's one of those that Adam agrees with Robin. But like for me, as I said in the last stream at Burnley, I thought we had a good game. And I thought yesterday was, as Robin said, best in a Watford shirt, to be completely honest. I think classic example to remind people like me to not judge too soon on a player like that, because clearly he spent his whole career in Spain. It's going to take him a little bit of time, maybe a bit more than other players who come from other leagues, to settle in and adapt. And obviously with two different managers, he's been asked to do different things. He's been chucked into midfield, then chucked to right back, played everywhere pretty much in different systems, and the managers are asking him to do different things. And I think one thing, credit to Bilic, and this is what he's done better than Edwards, is players like Gaspar, he's understood their limitations or what they bring to the team and adapted the way he uses them. And I think Gaspar's a prime example of that, because with Edwards, he wanted that flying Ethan Laird fullback that we didn't get. Gaspar's not that type. He's, we all know that. So, but technically, I thought the way, just his composure, his passing was really tidy, Charlie, and he's come of age really. Who particularly stood out of those? Was it those two as well, or was there anyone else that you thought had a really good game?
Yeah, I echo what kind of both you said. James Morris again got thrown in, but just really kind of professional performance, like mature beyond his years. I also really like his delivery into the box.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know if someone like a Rouge would benefit of that kind of. He's putting it kind of on the money. We just need some good movement. So yeah, and like you said, Gaspar, I thought was great. Key for that first goal. Chowdhury played a forward pass. Yes, Chowdhury did play a forward pass. Gaspar ran around and kind of squared it, and I thought Keenan Davis did do well for that goal. Who else did I think play well? Ishmael Kone, I thought might have had one of his best games in a Watford shirt. I think he's getting more confident. He's being brave. He's playing on the half turn. He's got a real burst of pace to beat players. I'm really excited about Kone. I think if we kind of develop him, give him time, he could be a really, really top player and someone who I think could maybe handle it in the Premier League. I don't know if you guys think that's a bold statement, and it'd be interesting to see what the people in the comments think. But I think Kone's got the ceiling to be a really combative, dynamic central midfielder in the Premier League.
Yeah, 100%. I actually think Loser coming back in will give us a bit more control that can free him up a little bit. Because at the minute, I think this is a good summary of him. You're seeing him winning the ball in good areas, driving with it, but it's that final ball. And I do think that is what's missing for him at the moment. But I think you bring Loser in there, gives us a bit more control. Even when he came on yesterday, like I know he should have played in Sarr with his right foot, but just even like some of his touches and the way he's dribbling past people, just think we need him back in the team pretty quickly. This is a good summary, actually. You on TV. Kone is like Chalobah under Ivic, a great disruptor, but then his passing and decision-making lets him down after. He's young. He'll improve in those areas. And I also think, as you say, it has been a bit of an awkward midfield, I guess, to play in, Sam, in the sense that, and this is nothing against Hamza Chowdhury or Kone, but they're both not a dictator of play, really. They don't set the tempo with their passing, do they? Like they're both playing together at the minute, but you'd want someone just behind them to free them up a little bit. But Sam, for you, what do you think? What do you make of Charlie's take there about whether he could really handle it in a high league?
Yeah, on Imran Loser, I thought that first half was crying out for him. I thought we could have got at West Brom a bit more, but only if we had Imran Loser in there to distribute the ball a bit better. I think there's certainly the skill set there for a Premier League player and the framework's there for it. I just think it's the small things at the moment, decision making, final ball. There was a situation at the end of the first half. I think we almost had a 3-on-3 situation with Kone, and he massively overhit the pass. And I think we only just about managed to keep the ball in. But other than that, if we can develop him correctly, we get him playing in his best position with Imran Loser in the midfield. I don't see any reason why he can't be stopped and become a top player for not just us, but for Canada as well, going into the World Cup in a couple of years.
Yeah. And the profile of signing as well is what I'm really happy about. Question before we move on to some other players we want to talk about. Lou Ornsss in the comment section, good to see you, mate. Where do you guys stand on the Keenan Davis debate? Seems there's a complete split on him, particularly on social media at the moment. Some fans are saying, should we really be starting him? What is he bringing? Other fans are saying that we've got to provide better service for him. So Charlie, I'll throw it over to you as a Keenan Davis enthusiast. Where do you fall on this debate?
Yeah, I think yesterday wasn't one of his best games, and I think he'll realise that. I think that chance, I'd have loved to see him dispatch that. I think that would have really built his confidence. And I don't know if it's a confidence issue. I don't know if the kind of change of the team. We're not getting him in the right areas. There was one moment in the second half which is what I want to see 5 times a game, where João Pedro is picking it up, using Keenan Davis as a backboard. I think on this occasion, João Pedro just hit it wide, but I think that's what we want, him kind of holding up and our creative players being fluid behind him. So I didn't think he was great yesterday, but I do think he's got the attributes to being a really, really important player for us. Again, I am really keen to see a Rouge come in the team, but I'm quite torn. I wouldn't want to replace Davis. I keep saying I'd love to see them play together. I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest, under Bilic. But I think you're fighting for the shirt, aren't you? Like if Keenan Davis isn't scoring, putting in performances, and Rouge comes in and does a better job, then he keeps the shirt. So it's good competition. That's exactly what you need going into a promotion hunt.
This is an interesting one. Ian in the comment section says Davis is better suited for the Championship than a Rouge, more physical and better physically. Robbie says Davis helped create the first goal for Sema and seems to put himself about more than any other front man we have. Needs a goal to boost his confidence. Completely agree with that last line. It does feel like he's just crying out for a goal, Sam. But for me, anyway, I'm watching Davis, and for me, I gotta sound like Carragher. For me, no, but like. The thing is, I look at him and I think, we said this earlier on in the season, you get him with his back to goal, as you mentioned, Charlie, and turning. I honestly don't think you can stop him, particularly in the Championship. But it does feel like he needs a partner to give him those balls, because at the minute he's having to drop so deep to try and pick up the ball. And that means then Pedro's then out of position, and it just feels a little bit, just doesn't feel like it's connecting at the minute, Sam. Do you think there's a reason why for that? Is that something Bilic has asked him to do, or do you think he's just getting frustrated that he's not getting the service that maybe if he was with a partner he would get?
I think this is where one of the arguments comes in that perhaps we're badly coached or not as well coached as we should be at this level. I don't necessarily agree with that argument, but I understand the sentiment that I think people have said Keenan Davis isn't a goal scorer. At Nottingham Forest last season, he scored 5, I want to say.
Yeah, it was his overall game in terms of what he brought with assists. So like last season, if we just go on to his stats, right? I think it was at Forest, 21-22 season, 18 games, 5 goals, 2 assists.
So, and I'm seeing here he scored 3 goals for Villa. So he's on something like, 10, 15 career goals, Keenan Davis. And that's not great reading, is it, for a striker? And And yes, you can argue he's a hold-up player, but even when he's in those positions, like yesterday, you could argue he should have had a hat-trick. And I don't care if you're a hold-up player who's playing a bit deeper or if you're someone who plays on the shoulder. When you're a striker and get those chances, you have to be scoring those in those tight games in the Championship. And that's where his game needs to improve. In terms of where I stand on the debate, I'm very 50-50. I don't know where I stand on it because on the one hand, I can see what he brings to the team. And I think that we can see that the team is missing something when he's not in there. But on the other hand, he needs to be doing a lot more still, I think.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? I do agree he should be doing more. I think Charlie's right. Yesterday wasn't his best game at all. I think it's just frustrating for me because you've seen games where he has just bullied defences and he occupies defenders. I just don't feel like, I don't know whether it's the service we're providing and whether we're adapting to his play enough. I think we could do a little bit more in terms of the service we're providing him, particularly with the one up top. Are we playing to his strengths well enough? Are we giving him the right service? Do you know what I mean? We know with the Rouge, you play it in behind because he's not a hold-up player. With Davis, I feel like you can mix up a bit more with him, whereas at the minute, it just feels like we're kind of firing into him, asking him to turn, drop deep, create, and then get into the box and whip it in and see what happens. It doesn't feel there's a plan with how we're playing with him at the moment.
Yeah, I've got a question for both of you as well. Sort of moving on from the Keane and Davis debate, because it got me thinking about Britt Assombalonga. What do you both think about the decision to put Assombalonga and Bacuna on the bench over Asprilla and Adeyemo? Because I think, first of all, at least with what I've seen from Assombalonga, I think Adeyemo looks better. He looks sharper and looks more match fit.
Go on, Charlie.
I was disappointed not to see Asprilla on the bench. I don't know. No one said he's injured, have they? And I just think he's done so much this season and he's a pretty pure talent. So if we can get him minutes or if we're struggling to break a team down, I feel like he's important and I want to see more from him. And I think we kind of seen with Bacuna, he does a job, but he's not going to bring anything to our game, is he? Maybe we needed him for Burnley to see the game out like yesterday. But yeah, the small things we've seen of Britt, we've only seen him a couple of times. I do agree with you. Adeyemo has looked better. I don't know. It's a hard one. I don't know if we're trying to just build Britt's minutes up. I don't know how many times he played in Turkey, but it's an interesting one. And it's one where yesterday, again, just because I'm desperate to see a Rouge, maybe I would have preferred to bring a Rouge on, but I'm guessing they brought Britt on for just a bit more physicality.
I have to say, Sam, and if I'm completely honest, I'm really frustrated with Asprilla not being on the bench. I just think that is just crazy. He's like one of our most creative players, I'd say, behind Zhao. I think, you look at some of his touches and some of the passes he makes. I don't think a lot of players in our team, let alone the league, can have the same quality that he has. I do. So Luan said that Bilic said in the pre-match presser that he's giving Asprilla a rest as we've relied too much on a young player. Make of that what you will. And I do agree with Bilic to an extent that I do think we've relied on him to an extent. Maybe we played him more than I think he would have expected to this season. But to not have a player of his quality and his creativity on the bench when you need to change the game and give us that other option. And then you look at the bench and no disrespect to Bacuna, but you've got a toss up between Bacuna and Asprilla. There's only one answer for me there with Loser on the bench as well. I just don't seem to understand why you wouldn't put him in. Yeah,
definitely. He's got an eye for a pass as well. There have been games where we're crying out just for that cutting edge in the final third, and I think Asprilla can offer that, to be honest.
But if we do need to see a game out, and I'm not Bacuna's biggest fan, but if we do need to see a game out, what other centre midfielders have we got? Obviously, Chowdhury was on a yellow yesterday. Do we want a bit more physicality and experience, or throw Asprilla as a holding midfielder? Do you know what I
mean? I get that point. I just felt yesterday we had Loser on the bench. So why would Asprilla would make sense? I mean, I guess his argument, Bilic's argument is, realistically, where would you play Asprilla in the team at the moment if he was to come on? And it would probably be in Zhao's role. And realistically, do we take Zhao off? No, unless we have to. So where would he play in that system? Where does he come? Who does he come on? Does it come on for Sema? Probably. He does it maybe Sarr, and you play him off the right. So that's the only bit of thinking I can see, and maybe we've just used him a little bit too much. But we're going to come back on some individuals at the end of the show. We're going to bring on a very special guest. We've got the legend Rio Woolf on, mate. How you doing? Let's give a round of applause, Rio. What a man. He's in.
Yes, Rio.
Good to see you, my man. How you getting on?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well. Very well.
It's all right. Rio, are you covering your mic by any chance?
Oh,
there we go. That's better.
Oh, you're back, mate. You're back. Top man. Did you watch the game yesterday, Rio?
Yeah, I was at it. It was much needed win to keep us in around the playoffs, because the other teams had the games in hand, etc. And if we didn't win that, then we'd be on really bad form, win this in 5 or 6. So it was much needed.
Yeah, 100% to get back in the playoffs, right? What have you made of the season so far, Rio? We were just chatting about kind of where we see this Watford team right now. After yesterday, how confident are you feeling about the playoffs? Do you think we can make it this season?
Well, it's been an up and down season, I'd say. You've got the highest, Norwich away, that was a great win with the team we had, and then Middlesbrough at home, of course, Bayer had to score. And but yeah, it's not been the best of the season. I think if we recruited the players we did in January and the summer, then we'd be closer to the top 2. But with Loser coming back, you got Pereira as well and Kamara, hopefully. I think we can judge Bilic then, as you said, and hopefully get into the playoffs. And I reckon it's a Watford v Luton final.
Top man. We'll get on some Watford players that you've met in a bit, mate. But if you haven't seen Rio before, he's a legend with Watford. So he's currently a footballer, right, Rio, for Chelsea in England amputees under 21s. Is that right?
Yeah, what's the name? We're going to lots of the EA for England amputee junior camps, and since September, October. I've been training with Chelsea amputees, and training with the first team, and I'm settling in well, but I can play professionally when I'm 16 and hopefully play at a couple of World Cups like João Pedro in the future.
Oh, I love that. What's the story in terms of how you got picked up and scouted, Rio? How did that all come about?
Yeah, so I lost my leg. I was born with tibia plasia without a knee joint and ankle joint. So I had my amputation at 16 months old, and then my mum heard about amputee football and contacted Owen Coyle, who Queen's Park in the Scottish second division. He's the assistant manager to Owen Coyle, who was manager of Blackburn.
I know, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, I met him a few weeks ago as well. He invited me up to Queen's Park. But yeah, and I've gone to countries like Georgia, Poland, Italy, Ireland with the AFA, and it's so good because you don't see many people with physical disabilities around you, and then you just go into an environment with 50, hundreds and hundreds, 50s of people with similar conditions, and it's just so good to meet everyone. And yeah,
amazing.
Yeah. Oh, Rio, just on your leg there, and you mentioned João Pedro. Is it all right if you show everyone your leg at the moment? So what Rio likes to do.
License not very good, but yeah, that's so you can see.
Look at that! Wait, I think it's frozen on Pedro. Look at the time of that.
Is that signed?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we've got you back. Is that what Charlie was just saying? Is that signed, Rio?
Yeah, Pedro signed it in the middle here, rubbing out a bit. We might need to get him to sign it again, but I went to the Hornet shop on Friday, and I got the centre back. You love him, Portis.
Oh, we photo.
We photo.
Yeah. They were raving about João Pedro as well. They're like, what a player.
Really? What were they saying about João, Rio?
No, so I showed them my leg, and they're like, oh, really cool. And Hoot said, oh, João Pedro, what a player. And Portis tried to do his best Portuguese accent of João Pedro. And yeah, it was just 2 really nice guys. And
what did you promise Porteous if we got promoted?
What's the name? Showed him my leg. He was like, oh, that's sick. And I said, if you get us promoted, you'll be on it next.
Yes, that needs to happen.
Love that. Rio, when we get promoted, which we will, you've got to come back on, and we've got to get the Porteous sort of look at that one, mate, because that's top draw.
I guess it wasn't. I was thinking Oh yeah, I'd love another João Pedro leg, but like if we don't go off and like get it before, so the end of the season, it might be a bit curtains if he ends up leaving.
Oh mate, imagine. So Rio, you've met Zhao.
Yeah.
You got a picture. There's a great picture on Rio socials of you with Pedro, with the
Yeah.
leg, with the picture. What was
Yeah.
his reaction like when he saw it?
Yeah. So like, what's the name? I think I got my prosthetic leg with Pedro on like the day Rob Edwards got sacked. So I was like, oh no, that's gonna overshadow everything. But yeah, but Pedro saw it. He posted it on his Instagram, etc.
Yes.
His girlfriend texted me, and then at the Norwich at home game, he was on the bench because he was coming back from a couple injuries, which kept him out like Stoke away, etc. And yeah, I got him. I was trying to get him to hold the leg up, but I held it up. Got the stewards. They were stopping me like all game from going over to the Old and trying to get a photo of him. But I managed to get it. And I was like, my leg and João Pedro, the partnership we didn't know we needed.
Oh, I love it.
And then
Oh,
the Huddersfield away game did a signing with Yasser Spria, and I got him to sign my leg, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember you," etc. And yeah, hopefully I get the whole team to sign my leg soon.
Rio, what's it been like as a disabled fan supporting Watford? Have the club been helpful? Have they given you any opportunities? Obviously, you've met loads of the players, but what's that been like?
Yeah, wasn't it when I was in like year two, like when 6, 7 years old, I was like Watford's local hero, like it turned on Christmas lights into Watford. So yeah, I met Doyley, Tozer, Deeney, and say Doyley. Yeah, and like they've given me some amazing opportunities. Like I used to be in like disabled seats for games, etc. Not go to many away games. It's like maybe it wasn't so accessible, but now I go every home game and a few away games as well, and like sit with everyone else. So yeah, it's been very good, and like we know Deeney very well. Like he's a top guy. He's very down to earth, and yeah, it's called the Family Club for a reason. Like I don't know if you saw, but last year they did like Supporter of the Year, and there was this kid in the wheelchair. He like sits at the front of the rookery. Like yeah, they're very inclusive, and yeah, it's what it's all about.
amazing,
Love it.
mate.
Exactly.
I love that. Love that.
Exactly. And Rio, we brought you on today specifically as well to talk about football with disability. You must have seen the interview last night with Ken Sema, a really brave interview.
I saw it at school this morning.
Oh, of course. Yeah. On the bus in, I used to do that as well. It would all be straight on social.
You were saying about Ken Sema, I was like, what about him? And then I checked Instagram and I saw Sport Bible posting about him, and I was like, oh yeah, that's great.
You got to show your mates right as well.
Yeah.
The king, Ken. Go on, Sam. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, no, of course. So you must have seen how brave it was for Ken to overcome his speech impediment, or not overcome it, but do an interview with the speech impediment. How inspirational was that for a disabled fan to see one of the Watford players doing that?
Yeah, it's very inspirational because footballers, like everyone thinks they're perfect, they earn all the money in the world, and like they don't usually like for example, we've just seen now like people like footballers coming out like they're gay, like that's like a new thing in football because they wouldn't feel comfortable, and like obviously Sema probably like you have to overcome his fears to feel comfortable about doing an interview, and like I think Luke Ayling is a stammer as well. Yeah, so like yeah, it's good that hopefully it allows more players to like be able to speak freely, and yeah, it's very, very, very good for him because like yeah, it's good that he gets the recognition he deserves.
Mate, 100%. Oh, mate, we absolutely love you. We love Ken. Absolutely top draw. Rio, before you leave, we wanted to get you on the player ratings, right? So obviously we played big win against West Brom yesterday, and we want Rio Woolf's honest big ratings from you. So we're going to go round. So I'm going to fire it. I normally stay out this Rio because I don't want any arguments or anything. So I'll be Sam, Charlie, and then Rio. And we're basically just going to go through the lineup. You give your rating, maybe a little reason why you give the rating, and then we're good to go. And let us know in the comment section. Leave the love for Rio, and make sure you do let us know the player ratings. And if you're watching this back, let us know what you think. So we'll start off with the keeper, and I'll start with you, Sam. Daniel Blackman, what are we giving him out of 10?
I'll give him a 3. He made a good save.
Jesus, what a start. I'm sorry, Rio. I'm so sorry, mate. You've come on and Sam's just on absolute smoke.
I'll give him a 3. Maybe that's harsh. I'll give him a 4. I'll give him a 4 because he did make a good save at the start of the second half, but he's got to be doing better with the second goal. I think he probably could have commanded his area better with the first goal, but we've moaned about his kicking before, and he played us right into trouble yesterday.
Moving on. Charlie was a big shake of the head there. Is that a bit harsh?
No, he didn't have his best game again. Obviously, that big mistake for the second goal, but he did make a save he probably should have made. So I'd probably give a generous 5.
That wasn't, to be fair, that is a really good point. That was a good save actually in the first half, to be fair. And he's made 2. He made one against Burnley as well. Do you remember, like from close range? I think fair play. It was a good little save that. Moving on to, we'll go right back. Charlie,
Rio needs a rating for Batman.
Do I not need to rate him?
I'm saying Rio. I want to hear Rio.
Okay. Look, Rio. What we've had a. You know what? Sam's is technically a 3.5. He only put it up to 4, only because I said something. But no, okay. So Sam's gone 4. Charlie's gone 5. And if you were going to give him a rating, what would you give Batman?
I wouldn't go far off. I'd give him 4 because I feel like his kicking in most games is like not been good. Like if you look at the top Premier League keepers like Ramsdale, they just chip it to the wing backs and like just invites pressure onto us. I feel if you see the corner which led to their first goal, he made a good save. You would expect him to save it, but it was a good save. Like we know he's a decent shot stopper. It's just his kicking. So yeah, I'll give him 4.
4. Right, moving on to Gaspar.
Rio on all of these player ratings. He's a lot better.
Rio, Gaspar, go for it, bro. What do you reckon?
As Bram said, best game in a Watford shirt.
I love it.
If you see on like, for example, Edwards in the early Slaven Village days, like all he would do is just like smash it over the defender for like a hit and hope to hopefully someone gets on the end of it. But yesterday I thought, yeah, he's growing into it. Obviously he's not quick at all, but I feel like he's been captain for Villarreal for a reason, and like he knows when to stick a foot in. Like we saw that against Burnley away, and I feel like his positional sense is very good as well. So I reckon I'll give him an 8, maybe a bit generous, you know.
Nice. I love the 8. And Sam, look, I'll throw it over to you for James Morris at left back. On the other side.
I'll also give him an 8. Yeah, I thought Morris had a great game, as did Gaspar. We spoke about it earlier. He was thrown into the lineup. I imagine Kamara got injured at the last minute, but he stepped in, looked mature, and buzzing for him.
Great stuff. Moving on to the centre back, we've got to give it to the main man, Charlie. Porto, what are we giving him?
Yeah, I thought Porto was decent, probably a 7. I just love when there's a ball there that he could kick out or just needs to be won, but he would just choose to take out man and ball, which just gets the crowd up. He knows exactly what he's doing. Yeah, I'd give Porto a 7. I thought his partner wasn't as good. I know he's Rio's mate now, but I'll let Rio give him a rating, but I didn't think he had his best game.
I have to agree with Charlie on that, Rio. Wesley Hood, what are we giving him? Because I think out of the two, he did get skinned twice, didn't he? There was one in the first half, got absolutely nutmegged, and then the second half on the other side, pretty much something similar. But Rio, I don't want to influence you, mate. But what rating are you going to give him?
No, I have to agree with Charlie. I feel like for the first goal, when it was the corner, on the way for them to win the corner and Batman carrying it, he got like skinned, he got nutmegged and everything. And I feel like he gave the ball away a few times. I feel like he's an upgrade on what we had, but I'll give him a 6. I feel like he was definitely more composed and better against Burnley. But I thought his overall defending was well. Like you see, like DK came on, and like DK's one of the strongest players in the league, strongest player on FIFA. But yeah, he was composed with that. Like other defenders in the past would like being a bit intimidated. But I'll give him a 6. Wasn't his best game.
6, nice.
Sorry, just on the last thing on Hoot, his passing was pretty good. Had a couple of really nice long switches.
He did a nice diagonal to Sarr, didn't he?
Love that. Got a lovely left pack on him. We'll move it on to. We'll go. Do you know what? I'm just going to throw Chowdhury over to Sam each week. So Sam, Cowdrey.
Every week. He was brilliant against Burnley. Best game in the Watford shirt. I think there were some shades of that against West Brom as well. Actually played the ball forward as well a couple of times, as Charlie mentioned earlier in the show. I think sometimes he can improve still, but I'll give Hamza Chowdhury I'll give him a 7.
7. His partner, who you said Charlie thought he had a really good game. Ismail Kone.
Yeah, I'd probably say an 8. All the reasons I mentioned, but I don't know. Maybe I've got Canadian coloured glasses, but I just think I really like the look of him. And yeah, I do agree his final ball does need work on, but I'd rather him be able to win it in the middle, take up defenders, get on the half turn. If he was hiding and you weren't seeing him and the game was passing by, that's where I'd be concerned. But big Kone fan.
Big Kone fan. It would be rude not to give Rio João Pedro. So, Rio, JP, what are we giving him out of 10?
10 out of 10, of course. Nervous. I feel like he's had better games. Obviously, like what he brings to the team is just like with him. Obviously, we're by far a better team. But I'll give him a 7. I feel he did the basics well. He was obviously worked hard as he does every game. Final third, but I'll give him a 7. I think maybe no, he wasn't right because we didn't play on the weekend, of course. But yeah, I'll give him a 7. Could have been better being João Pedro. I'll let him off.
Sam, the man who's been getting all the plaudits and deservedly so, the king, the GOAT, Ken Sema. Honestly, just on a separate note, I'm so happy for him because I think he just gets on with his work. He does it properly. And he actually, I thought, I'd go as far to say, I think he carried us to an extent in that game at times. So for you, Sam, Ken Sema, 2 goals to his name. What are we giving him?
He's the perfect championship player. Just to bring up quickly, though, as well, should he have had a hat-trick? Should that goal have stood? I'm not too sure on the rules.
I don't think it should have, but Charlie, it looked like on the picture that it was tight.
Yeah, I think we tweeted off of WD18 because I wasn't sure of the rules because there was a player off the pitch, he was off the pitch, but a lot smarter people replied saying it was offside. So a shame, but yeah, King Ken was just everything that we wanted. He's so composed, he's so strong, and he's just good quality in the final third. Assist against Burnley, 2 goals in the positions where we need him, and he's just such a, like we talked about earlier, an inspiration on and off the pitch. So he's got to be one of the first names on the team sheet. What rating did you give him, Sam?
I think this is going to be one of the first ever WD18 10 out of 10s.
Oh!
I'm giving Ken Sema a 10. Obviously, for the interview as well yesterday.
It's so perfect that Ken gets the first 10.
Yeah, I think Ken gets the first 10 out of 10. I mean, he couldn't do much more yesterday. On another day, the ref gives him the hat-trick as well. But as well as that, I think he gets an extra mark for the interview at full time as well. So I'm giving Ken a 10 out of 10.
Just a quick one. If that one was a 10, has there been another 10 this season? I'm going for João Pedro against Luton.
I think that was a 10. Middlesbrough. Which game? Was Pedro against Middlesbrough?
At home.
No,
Yeah.
That's a great shout as well. I'm just trying to think, is there any other? That's a really good point, Charlie. Is there any? So we just go Pedro to Luton, Pedro to Middlesbrough at home.
I think it was Blackman against Burnley at home, I think it was at the start of the season. Brilliant that day.
Love it. Yeah, for sure. Great to see Ken get a little 10 there. That's fantastic. Moving on to the other side, Charlie. Ismail Assar got a goal. Felt like he kind of drifted in and out again.
Well, he's all right. I'd probably give him a 7 just because we know how good he can be. Yeah, I said some bad words when he hit the post. I thought we needed that goal. I was just like, I thought he was all right. He got involved. He looked lively. He tried to make things happen. He had a really nice bit when he came in on the right. And he set up João Pedro. I don't know if João Pedro should have scored or it was a good save. But he just waited and picked out a ball that João Pedro came onto. So we know that Sar's got levels, but I thought it was solid yesterday. He got an important goal when we needed it. So I'd give him a 7.
7. Moving on to up top, Rio, Keenan Davis.
Yeah, it's weird because he hasn't scored since Luton at home in like 23rd of October. But he does bring something to the team. He holds up the ball well. He's quite good technically, but like he had a chance in the first half. He should be scoring that, and like he went on a run of form where he scored against Luton at home, Norwich at home. Like if he was on form, he would score that. But yeah, I'll give him a 6. I feel like we don't play to his strengths, but I feel like he's a big presence. He should be getting in the box a bit more. You've got Pedro who does his work outside the box, Sar in the wing, Pedro on the wing, Sema on the wing. I feel like maybe he should be in the box more because he doesn't get many shots off.
Yeah,
6.
for sure. In terms of what rating was that for
6.
for him?
6.
6. Okay. And so there were 3 subs that came on: Loser, Bakuna, Assemblonga. I would say Assemblonga and Bakuna probably can't really be rated just because they weren't on, I'd say, for that long. Is that probably fair?
Yeah.
But Loser, seeing him back, I know he wasn't on, but I mean, just maybe a 10 for seeing him back on the pitch. But yeah, those guys, I mean, to be fair with Loser, right, Sammy, yeah, he should have played. I don't know what you thought, guys, but like there was a point where he's run half the length of the pitch and you're like, Loser, just with your right foot, just play Sar in. Sar's made this unbelievable run from halfway. Just thinking, play him in, and he's yeah, great to see him back though.
Yeah, great to see him back. I think again, it's difficult to rate him, particularly when we're on the back foot, and we see the best of him around Loser when he's got his foot on the ball. Give him a standard 6, I think. Not too much to say.
Do you know what? We'll go around. Just give Bilic a rating because he split opinion. As I don't know if you caught the start of the stream, Rio, but we were basically talking about how some people are saying we didn't have a lot of style of play yesterday, but some people are saying, well, it's just all about kind of the character that we showed to come back. Not come back, but to keep after getting paid back to keep going. What would you give Slaven Bilic, Rio, out of 10 for his setup and his tactics yesterday?
Yeah, like what's the name? I feel like so Loser on Friday we had like he's in contention to start, and the idea that like he might be starting, but like he could have come on maybe in like the 60th minute or something. I wouldn't have taken Kone off because he was playing well, but he brought him on in the 85th minute. Like there would be much more negativity if we didn't win that game. But it's weird because with Rob Edwards, they sacked him after 11 games for not having a style of play. I wouldn't we have had injuries, but I wouldn't say we have a style of play and it's been like 24 games, something like that. I'll give him a 6 yesterday. He didn't lose, it was a big win against a decent team. So, yeah.
Good man. Before we let you go, Rio, yes or no? Actually, 2 questions. Are we going to get playoffs? And then if you think we are, do you think we'll go up?
So if you asked me a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking to Sam at the Arsenal youth game. I would have said Norwich are probably better than us, but they're not now. I've seen them. They're not on the best form through to Wigan away, which we won. And West Brom, I don't think they were that great yesterday. They slightly dipped in form. They drew to Blackburn, lost to Birmingham. So I think it's ours to 6th place, and then Scotland, Millwall, Luton, and but if we get to the playoff semis, I don't want Middlesbrough in the playoffs because like they're great form. I'd rather Sheffield United.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up quickly, Rio. Question for all of you. It looks like the race between 2nd and 3rd is now hotting up again, particularly if we go and beat Sheffield United at the weekend and Middlesbrough when it's wide open. Who would you rather play between Middlesbrough and Sheffield United? Because for me, much rather play Sheffield United.
Sheffield United, what's the name? As you said, forms everything going into the playoffs. If you look at Forest, they're bottom of the league in like October last season, and then they won so many games, climbed to 3rd, nearly got automatics, and like they won the playoffs through like pure confidence, and like Sheffield United being like like upset and like not their heads in the right places because they bottled top 2. So yeah, I'd rather Sheffield United, and I reckon if we're in the final against Luton, then I reckon if we're in the final against anyone in the Championship, we win. We've got the quality, it's just what I'll say whether we win or not.
Oh man, Rio, what a man! It's been an absolute pleasure. WD18 debut. Rio. We met last season, didn't we? I think we got a picture.
Yeah,
what game was it?
I was in hospitality with my friend at Newcastle at home.
Oh mate.
Yeah. Behind us, and I was like, oh, I recognise that geezer.
I was like, I recognise you. Mate, absolutely, what for legend. Love it, mate. When we next see you, we'll have to catch up and get a picture and make sure you come back on the channel, because it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I hope the family's well. Make sure you look after yourself, and yeah, we'll speak to you soon, bud.
Nice to see you guys. Thanks for having me. Bye.
What a boy. Love that
What a
guy.
man.
Just to wrap up, just a tweet from Andrew French. Actually, I think this is the perfect way to round it up. Andrew put a tweet out saying English is not his first language. He has a stammer. He had already done a round of interviews. It was nearly 11 p.m. and the team bus was waiting. Yet still, Ken Sema made the time for a one-to-one chat. There are many reasons why he is King Ken, and I think that's the perfect way to wrap it up. Make sure you do leave a like on the stream. Subscribe to WD18. Make sure you follow Sam and Charlie on Ken Sema fanboy. I love that. I just clocked it. Absolutely love it. If you want to see a TikTok of me saying I love Ken Sema, that's also live. And if you want to see some more TikTok content, click the link in the description. As I say, follow us on socials at WD18 fans, and we'll see you in the next one. All a pleasure. Take care. Bye bye.